Hey guys. So, how do you homeschool through hard times? I'm Jacqueline. This is Homeschool Hangout. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. If you like these kinds of, life and homeschooling videos, do me a favor. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, all the things, buy me a coffee, whatever. There's links down below. And let's get into it. First off, this is a collab and it's being headed up by two homeschool moms. Uh, that's the name of their channel. I'll link to the playlist down below. Go check out what they have to say. And every situation we're talking about is going to probably be different, and every family's different. So, all of that said, let's get into it. Now, when I saw this topic, because frankly, I don't participate in all the collabs, it really spoke to me specifically about health issues. And I don't mean you've got a cold, I mean like chronic, long term surgeries or things like that. And you're looking at me and you're like, okay, but what kind of experience do you have? Well, in reality, my experience has not been that extreme, but it has been there. And when I say that, I mean when I was a toddler, they cleaned out my intestines because they couldn't get rid of my pneumonia. They gave me so many antibiotics. And I was in an oxygen tent, as the story goes, when I was about 2. And that started my health journey. So things have gotten better since then and not better. And what I mean is, I was a kid in public school who got bronchitis and pneumonia once a year. And in high school, I got mono twice. Don't judge me. My immune system was really down. And so once it's in your system, it can come back. And so I was out of public school for, I think, 3 months the first time and 2 months the second time because my body just was not kicking it either. So I come at it from that aspect as a student. And I was in public school. I was on home hospital for both my freshman and my sophomore year in the like January, February, March areas. And then separately, as an adult and as a mom who has 4 children within 6 years and has always homeschooled them, I have had to have numerous health procedures to treat some weird blood veins I have. And that's another story. If you want to know more about it, let me know. And I'll get into it probably over my other channel. But I had to homeschool my children. And then even before we hit summer, 1 year, my husband had to have numerous outpatient heart procedures. So it's like none of our health issues have been that huge, but they've been there and they've been inconvenienced. And so I'm kind of looking at it with those eyes. That's why I tell you, don't feel sorry for me. I'm fine. But I'm telling it to you so you understand where I'm coming from. When I have my procedures, they give me pain medication. It takes a lot of healing. There are trips to Stanford, which is 3 hours away. So, like, I have to go, then sleep off the anesthesia the next day when I get home. It's a whole thing. Outpatient, not very major, but very inconvenient. And it also can leave me lethargic and sad and all the fun emotional stuff that goes with being sick like that. I'm going to bang a gong I think I banged in all aspects of homeschooling. And first and foremost, grace. Have grace on yourself. Have grace on your children. Have grace that life is self-healing in some ways. And I say that there's a Bible verse, and I'm a Christian, but I'm not just speaking at it from a purely Christian standpoint, but God's grace covers a multitudes of sins as a Christian. As a parent, that may or may not be my life prayer because I know I'm not a perfect parent, and I just have to trust that God's grace will help heal that situation. And so give yourself grace, but also really consider what's actually important. And copy work and making sure they write 3 lines of something out of a book every day, in the big scheme of things, may not be that important. It can definitely be character building. It can definitely be useful. It can definitely do all those things. But focus on what is important. And what's important is whatever situation you're going through that's so hard. So the first thing I really recommend you look at is prioritizing. Now, when I say that, I don't mean don't do anything silly for school. I mean prioritizing. Figure out what are the things that if you don't work on them, they might lose as a skill. So I'm going to go back to when I was in public school. We're going to talk about public school. My teachers, of course, wrote out all my assignments. And I will be honest, when I went back, the spring quarter was almost halfway done with both of them. I had a full into the summer to finish all the back work that they had given me. And the funny part is I had to keep going with the current stuff. So clearly that old stuff wasn't all important to teach me the next thing, if that makes sense. And some of my teachers just went, well, that's just classwork, busy work. We're going to just give you an A for that. Don't worry about it. So even in public school, there's some grace that is given in the don't do the unimportant. So like, for example, I had an honors world history my sophomore year. We had a big paper to do. I had to do the paper, but I didn't do a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I had to just show that I'd read everything and like write summaries instead of lectures. And I recommend you kind of take that view with your kids. Now, I was in Algebra 2 my freshman year in trigonometry / advanced math, whatever that ends up being, pre-calculus trig combo the next year. That was important. That was something that I would lose the ground I had gained. Plus, it could set me behind. So now, remember, I'm somebody who went into engineering first out of college. Math was very important to me. Whatever that might be, seriously, consider making sure you do that a few times a week. And whatever that is, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be going forward at a fast speed. And that's okay, because guess what? The public schools kind of do that too. I was really told because I was in, an honors class that I wasn't doing great at, so I went to a regular Algebra 2 class. And they're going, we can make this slower if you want it. So remember that even in public schools, they have some of that grace. The other part was honestly when I realized how little actual schoolwork there was in school, even as a high school student, because I got all of my homework sent home and I'm like, I may only be awake 2 hours a day, but I can get all this done. So have that grace for yourself. But also make sure that you are looking at what is really going on and maybe tailoring your school to that. And what I'm saying is when my husband had his heart things, my kids learned a lot about heart health and learned about what arrhythmia was, because that's what my husband had, what arrhythmia was and that kind of stuff. So for my procedures, my kids didn't learn about that because mine are maintenance procedures, but their dad's going in for a heart procedure. My kids were all older. They were not little. And it was scary. It was scary for all of us. It was scary for me as the mom sitting in a hospital. I believe I was in the hospital. Oh my gosh, it might make me cry. Waiting for my husband to come out of his big procedure where he had to stay overnight on the anniversary of my father's death. I was not in a mood to educate my children, and I wasn't the one having the procedure. So think about what your children and you need emotionally at that time. And you can call it school, you can call it mental health, you can call it whatever you want, but talk about that. Spend some of the time you might spend on school talking and dealing with that. If your children are sick and this is like for me, I had mono, which meant I was at home, I was supposed to be resting. That is a perfect time to start looking at what's actually important on their schedule for them. You need to take a shower every few days. You do. It gets gross. You smell. It's disgusting. Health, basic health class. Health is a high school requirement. It's important. It's important. Health class. But also learning skills to run your life based on the resources and time you have available. As somebody who has some chronic illnesses, that is a skill that I had to pick up when I had mono. Not so much when I had pneumonia and bronchitis. That was just how to, lessen my wheeze in the back of the classroom. But when I couldn't be in school and I didn't have the physical bandwidth, And there were some other things going on. I had a very dysfunctional family. That's a different story time. How to fit in everything I had to do. What is important? What can wait? If you are anywhere adjacent to a site of TikTok that deals with people who have chronic illness or have ADHD or who have autism, they talk about spoons. You only have so many spoons a day, and what is important to spend your spoons on. So I really recommend that you take that step back and kind of analyze, especially if this is something that could go on for a while. And this is the case if you're moving, if you're having to go back to work because you're having financial difficulty, whatever that is, you only have so many spoons, so many things to invest time wise. And so that is where I personally, and I'm thinking about whether or not to pull out my planner, I have the must get dones and the like to get dones and the if I have extra time and energy list. That is something I use at least mentally every day. I'm filming today. I would love to get my thumbnails done and get some things outlined and get some stuff done. But in reality, I'm filming today. And then I'm going to go help my 16-year-old daughter with her calculus homework. And I have to make dinner tonight. That's it. Those are my must-dos. And you can view homeschooling the same way. What are your must-dos? And so for me, I've realized that I like to time block instead of doing a little bit of everything every day. That's me. That may not be you. Everyone is different. But have that mercy with you and your children. And frankly, you may not have the same methodology, but you need to cater to the person who's having the hardest time. I know that sounds weird, but my children wanted to play sports 3 days a week. I couldn't handle that when they were kids because I was having horrible migraines and I had to plan on being able to nap in the afternoon. I'm garbage at 2:00 in the afternoon. So everyone had to kind of cater to that because if I didn't tend to that, you could torpedo the rest of the next day too. So kind of cater to the person who needs it the most, but have grace. And hopefully this is a season. It may not be. It may be something that's ongoing for a while or for years or for whatever. I'll be honest, my health has gotten better as my kids got older. My capabilities have gotten better. But, and so sometimes when I say the hard times, this is stuff that you can take into your ongoing stuff too, meaning I love the idea of unit studies. I love the idea of making all these projects and doing all these things. But I'd be crying in the afternoon by myself because I felt like such a bad mom because I felt like garbage and I had a headache. And if you don't know about migraines, crying a whole bunch doesn't help a migraine. Just saying. So my homeschooling was tailored to my capabilities at the time. If I knew, here's the fun part, my surgeries, I would have them every 2 months, month and a half for a run of 3 or 4 of them. So sometimes that could take a while. And I know that right before I have the next one, I'll have a burst of energy and be able to be up and doing a bunch of stuff. Because that's the thing. You got to heal, then go in for the next one and heal. So we would kind of do cycles of homeschooling. So we'd have the really low effort, math, read by yourself, get these things done. Then we'd have projects, or then we'd do a field trip, or then we'd go to the playground. And then kind of, and it's okay. You can do that. You don't have to do the same thing every day. You don't have to get the same things done every week. You can choose to do one subject for 2 weeks and then do a different subject. All the state requirements is that you have a general overview education of all of these subjects. There's nothing that is put out about what you need to do here in the state of California. I don't know if other states have you have to get so much done on each subject. I don't think so, but I don't know that. Hard times are going to happen. Even Christians know that hard times are going to happen. there's no magical formula or religion that's going to give you a perfectly calm life where no one gets sick and nothing bad ever happens and chaos doesn't hate your life. The question isn't, will you homeschool through the hard times? It's how. And that will change person to person. I've heard stories of kids who are like, oh yeah, I was doing homework in the hospital and getting all this done. Bully for you. That's awesome. That works for you. I am happy for you. But if it doesn't work for someone else, that's okay. It's okay. There is no formula to life at all, much less life in the hard times. There's my 2 cents, 1 cent. I don't even think it was worth the 2 whole cents. What do you think? What do you do? Have you had hard times? How did you cope? How did you cope in homeschooling? Do me a favor, let me know down below. Let me know if there is something in this specifically. I can help you come up with a Cliff Notes version of dealing with something in homeschooling. Make sure you check out the playlist. It will be linked below. And I will talk to you all later. Remember, in all things, grace. Bye.